So I'm sewing the binding on my Sweet Pea quilt today. If you're wondering how to prepare the binding prior to sewing it on, you can check out my video on preparing quilt binding. It's super duper easy. So I'm starting on just one side of the quilt near the corner. I wanted to show you in this video how to turn a mitered corner when you're sewing the quilt binding on. I've read through directions on how to do that, and it can be a little bit complicated, so I just wanted to make sure that you had an understanding of how to do it and could watch a quick little video on it. So as I'm starting to sew the binding on, you can see I'm leaving about, maybe about an 8-inch tail. I'll do a next video on how to connect the two tails, but this purpose of this video is just to show you how to make that mitered corner. So I'm going to make sure my needle is down, and I'll remove pins as I come up to them. I have added my walking foot onto my machine in place of just my regular foot. I like to put it on when I'm sewing on bindings because there's 3 layers now, actually more than that you're going through. It just helps to feed the material, all these layers through nicely. So again, removing pins as you come up to them, and it is called a walking foot, not a running foot, so you don't want to use too fast of a speed with it. Just let it feed through itself. I'm using a 1/4-inch seam allowance and almost up to the corner. Now, the last pin that I've placed on this side, I actually did measure. It's 1/4 of an inch from the next side, and that's where you want to stop your stitching when you're making your mitered corner. So you sew right up until that 1/4 inch spot, and then you can remove the pin, of course, and give a couple back stitches just to set the thread. Now, you don't need to cut the thread, but you are going to raise up your presser feet, and you're going to go ahead and lift up your needle, and you're going to remove a little bit. You jiggle on your knob on the side to release your thread just a little bit. You're going to remove it just this far enough from your machine so that you can go ahead and turn that binding up at a 90-degree angle, perpendicular to the side that you were just sewing it on. So now if you see, it lines up just nicely with the next side that you're going to sew it down to. So you turn it up 90 degrees, and then you fold it right back down on itself. So I think I'm going to lift that up and show you again, in case you couldn't see it very good. You turn it up the 90 degrees, and then you fold it right back down onto itself. And it's going to look like that. I like to put a pin in place, so when I start stitching, it's not going to move on me. And then, actually, I would go ahead and I would pin the next entire side down. To continue, I'll just put one pin in for now for the purpose of showing you this mitered corner. Get your thread back in the location where it needs to be between your presser feet. Again, using a 1/4 inch seam, I start off stitching off of where that binding is, so you can do your back stitch there and set your thread, and then you just continue right along the next side. Again, you'd want to have this whole side pinned down and have a pin placed a 1/4 inch from your next corner, so that'll be your next stopping point. Flip the binding up, flip it back down on itself, turn around your corner, and keep going. Just that easy.